Hi everyone, it's Raquel Bowman here, and today I'm here sharing a new layout using the September hip kits. With these hip kits I've created and cut some cut files, and I'm going to be sort of showing you what I've done with them to change them up a bit and create my own ephemera. I've also got a selection of the crepe paper ephemera as well as the thickers, and as you can see from my colour palette here, I've sort of gone with pinks, gold and a black cream type base with white pops as well. So I've grabbed one of the tassels, I've taken out this gorgeous little bow, and then I've got some of the tags, and there are a couple of things that I pulled out from the Simple Stories Posh ephemera that I thought complemented really nicely. My idea for my design is that I want to have my photo on this side. The reason that I'm choosing to do that is because I'm looking, and the majority of myself is on this side of the picture. So I want to fill this side here with embellishments, or embellish on this side, add my journaling, whatever else it might be. The photo is that one that I took of myself. It was only a few days ago, and all I'm going to add is the joys of filters, and I'm totally in love with filters at the moment, especially for selfies. So this one, I want to document just a couple of things that have changed in my mindset recently, and that's really what I want to get down on paper and be accountable for. I made a little grouping here of a Pink Fresh Studio wood clip, and then the pencil from the Simple Stories pack, and this other little clip. I haven't adhered anything, but my thought was to pop it behind the photo in some way. And the reason that I've chosen those sort of stationary items is because this layout is sort of like a documenting about myself layout, you know, that get it down, get it documented. So I thought they were really fitting. The thing that I wanted to talk to you about in terms of ephemera and creating your own and techniques is I have a ink machine, and I have to be more conscious of using it. But what I've done, and you can sort of see the impression there, is I've cut some of the leaves, which will be October's cut files, on my Silhouette Cameo. And then what I've done is I've taken my Heidi Swap reactive paint, and I've painted certain areas. So I'm going to sort of show you what I've done. So this is the textured cardstock. So the finish isn't going to be flawless, and it's going to have a bit of something, you know, something happening there. It's not going to be all perfect. But what I've done is I've painted, say, some on an angle, some just on the tip, and then this one here, I thought I'd try one painted just that way, so nearly entirely covered. And my thought was that I'll create my own sort of leaf embellishments that will complement, with the gold, that will complement the rest of my page. So that's my little handy hint for you. I know that if you don't have a ink machine, that you could do this just with a gold paint. So you could even hand cut your own leaves out if you don't have a silhouette, which is just a really simple, like, teardrop shape, I guess. And then you could use some gold paint, or any colour paint for that matter, just to tip and add some tips to the end, just for a bit of interest. So I'm going to pop those to the side, and I'm going to get creating. I have a bit of an idea in mind, and I cut this piece, was just a little leftover piece, but it complements the colours well. And I also have this black and white spot, which is the reverse side of this beautiful Maggie Holmes paper. Also to add in, and they'll probably be sort of finishing touches, I've gathered together the crepe paper stickers and the Pink Fresh chipboard hearts. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm beginning by cutting that scrap piece of that Maggie Holmes paper that I mentioned earlier, and that's just got a really beautiful soft pastel pink that will complement the rest of the layout beautifully. The photo has a sort of creamy tint to it, and that's just a filter that I used on Snapchat, I think it was. And then I've printed that with a white border like I do usually. And it is a bit of a change for me to scrapbook with a colour photo. I find that lately especially I've been really drawn to black and white photos, but this particular photo just matched everything that I had gathered together just really nicely. So I'm just working on that top left sort of grouping or cluster of embellishments. And I mentioned earlier again that what that sort of contained. Because I'd already stuck my photo and doily down, which was just from my stash, I had to cut a section out of that tag. And I'm actually glad that I did that. I did that so that it would fit under my photo because I had the adhesive already there. But it turns out that the area that I did cut off that tag I'll be able to use elsewhere because it says something like "Love You Forever" and it's got the gorgeous pink and then the sort of black and cream floral at the top. So I thought that was a little score to get double use out of that tag. And I've popped up that From the Heart square. That was also from the ephemera pack, and I've popped that up on foam, so that's raised at the same level as the photo, and then adhered that to that other die cut piece. What I'm doing right now is I'm trying to work at a horizontal design, and I'd sort of placed everything down round about where I wanted it to see when I could start adhering things. So I wanted to get everything placed and then adhere everything down. So I'm not committing really until a lot later in the piece when creating this layout, which is pretty much what I normally do anyway. That little tab there is actually the other half from the layout that I created last week. And at this point here, I decide that I am ready to stick that area of the layout down, so the photo mat and that From the Heart piece, except I move it across, and I was really silly to move it more to the left because it meant that I had too much white space around where that last floral piece goes. So I end up having to, in a moment you'll see me do it, painstakingly remove that photo mat area from the layout and shift it across just a smidge. With those clear acetate pieces, don't forget to peel off the cover on them, and the actual clear film cover I'm pretty sure is on the back, and when you look at it, it does look a bit more frosty, so it just makes the images a lot more crisp once you peel that film off. So I've moved everything across, and it means that I can fit that floral to the bottom left of my photo a lot better, and it's how I wanted it to look. So I'm glad that I moved everything over to the right that little bit more. And now I'm just adhering all the bits and pieces down. So that black and cream tag that's to the right of the photo, I pop a little bit of foam on the top of that, so that's sort of raised up just in that top section. I do that sometimes with embellishments where I'll adhere part of it flat onto the paper and another part with foam, and it just makes it a little bit multi-dimensional, I guess, and helps it to stand out off the page a little bit more. That Today word is a gold foil sort of scripted word from the Simple Stories pack, and now I'm just working on the final little bits of the layout. So trying to figure out, I really want to add that tassel to the page, and I also want to add that bow. And I was feeling like the tassel and the bow combined together were a bit too much. The tassel on its own would have been okay, but I preferred the cute little bow. So I stopped doing that and move on to something else. So because I made these leaves at the start, I'm like, well, I've got to find a spot to put them. But because the floral pieces are clear, I couldn't really add them in with those leaves as part of that floral piece, so I've sort of had to add them separately. So I end up only using 2 of my leaves, and I put one to the left of the photo and one to the right of that camera on the right side of the page. And what I combine them with is I've got this Martha Stewart, I can't remember the name, it's a little sort of leaf punch that you can see there, the design, and I've sort of punched that out just with some gold paper from my stash, and I've clustered that or grouped that with one of the leaves. So having them together, having a leaf just on its own to the right of the page and the left of the page looked a bit silly. It needed something else, so that extra punched leaf grouping just made it look a lot better on the page. And I also punched out a few little gold hearts, which I've added. Excuse my head there. I'm actually recording this actual video inside, and all I've got is I'm using daylight, and I'm using just one of my lamps. So I'm not on this filming using my typical setup, but I'll be back to using my normal setup after this. So here's some close-ups of the layout. There you can see that leaf little cluster, and I will be back soon with some more shares for you. Thanks for watching, and have a lovely day. Bye everyone.